from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Now, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Israel launches large-scale operation as Gaza conflict drags on. The US announces new sanctions on settlers over West Bank violence. With tensions high in West Asia, UN extends Lebanon peacekeeping forces mandate in favor of stability and a ceasefire. Typhoon Shanshan slams into southern Japan, triggers flooding and landslides. Thousands evacuated. Japan issues highest level warning for windstorm surges. Heavy rain continues to batter Indian state of Gujarat. Relief and rescue operation on war footing across the state. Incessant rains pound Delhi and nearby regions too. India celebrates National Sports Day today to mark the birth anniversary of Wizard of Hockey, Major Shanshan. Well, on to the details now. Israel launched a large-scale operation on Wednesday in the West Bank as the nearly 11-month-old Gaza war showed no signs of abating. The Israeli military said its forces killed 9 terrorists, while the Palestinian Health Ministry reported 11 deaths in the West Bank. Early on Wednesday, Israel launched coordinated raids across 4 northern West Bank cities, Jenin, Nablus, Tubas and Tulkarem, where the military has focused much of its recent operations. Violence also raged in the Gaza Strip, where Israeli strikes killed a significant Palestinian terrorist. In the West Bank, Tulkarem Governor Mustafa Takataka said the raids were a dangerous signal and unprecedented. The military carries out daily raids in the West Bank, occupied by Israel since 1967, but it is rare for these to happen in multiple cities simultaneously. But according to military spokesman Nadav Shoshani, Wednesday's operation was not extremely different from regular activity. And meanwhile, Washington on Wednesday announced sanctions on an Israeli settler group the State Department said was involved in violence against Palestinians and the forced displacement of some 250 villagers earlier this year. Netanyahu's office said he viewed the new sanctions with utmost severity. The sanctions freeze the U.S. assets of those targeted, denying them access, and generally bars Americans from dealing with them. The sanctions will be imposed under an executive order on West Bank violence that President Joe Biden signed in February. It has been used to impose sanctions on a Palestinian terrorist group as well as Jewish settlers and those supporting them. And the United Nations World Food Programme temporarily suspended movement of its employees across the Gaza Strip on Wednesday. The step was taken after bullets struck one of its clearly marked vehicles as it approached an Israeli military checkpoint. A convoy of 2 armored vehicles received multiple clearances by Israeli authorities to approach the Wadi Gaza Bridge checkpoint on Tuesday evening. Bullets hit one of the vehicles, but no one in it was hurt. The Israeli military did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the incident. It said the vehicle was a few meters from the Israeli checkpoint when it was hit. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said that the UN has long complained of obstacles to getting aid into Gaza amid total lawlessness in the enclave.
We continue to press for accountability. I think after this conflict is over, and we hope it's over much sooner than later, there will need to be accountability. There will be boards of inquiry to look at the destruction of UN property, the death of UN personnel, notably our security colleague. So we continue to press for accountability, but our concern right now is twofold: is to deliver as much humanitarian aid as possible and to keep the humanitarian workers safe while they do that work.
Well, a protest organized by the Hostages Families Forum in Tel Aviv led a convoy of cars lined up on the road displaying signs demanding action for the release of hostages on Wednesday. These cars were damaged during the events of October 7th and now serve as stark reminders during the demonstration. The convoy continued to Kibbutz Be'eri, where it was greeted by people waving Israeli and yellow flags. More than 250 Israelis and foreigners were taken hostage in the attack, in which some 1,200 people were killed.
Time there's an obstacle. Once time it's called Rafah, now it's called the Philadelphia corridor, and God help us, there'll be more in the future. We need this to end. After 327 days, everyone needs to come out. We all understand to make this happen, we need a ceasefire in order to bring everybody out. That is our demand as the families. We're now again going off to Gaza to bring our voice to the public.
I'm not doing anything else right now. My life just stopped on October 7th. You can't really go on with your life after such a horrible thing happened. So after October 7th, the only thing I do is to fight for the life of my cousin and all the other hostages.
Well, the United Nations Security Council has unanimously voted to extend a long-running peacekeeping mission in Lebanon for another year. But the United States said that changes should be made to the operation's mandate in the future. The UN interim force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, was established in 1978, which patrols Lebanon's southern border with Israel. The mandate for the operation is renewed annually, and its current authorization was due to expire on the 31st of August. UNIFIL's mandate was expanded in 2006 when the Council adopted Resolution 1701 following a month-long war between Israel and Hezbollah to allow peacekeepers to help the Lebanese army keep parts of the south free of weapons or armed personnel other than those of the Lebanese state. Deputy U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Robert Wood, told the Council that extending UNIFIL's mandate is now more important than ever.
Immediately. Extending UNIFIL's mandate, which this resolution does, supports our goal of regional de-escalation, which is now more important than ever. We do not want to see conflicts intensify and spread, and most importantly, the people of the region do not want that either. Specifically, UNIFIL plays an important role in monitoring activity along the Blue Line and promoting stability. And it supports local communities by facilitating humanitarian access and providing much-needed resources and training. UNIFIL's liaison capabilities also are integral in mitigating the risk of miscalculation and preventing further escalation.
Well, the European Union's 27 foreign ministers will meet in Brussels on Thursday to discuss possibly increasing support to Ukraine and lifting restrictions on where and how Kyiv's forces can use Western weaponry. The ministers will be joined by their Ukrainian and Turkish counterparts for the EU's first foreign ministers meeting in months. Alex Cardia reports for more from Brussels.
Well, this meeting will be the first opportunity for those EU foreign ministers to come together for the first time since their summer break and react to some of the big events going on around the world, chief among which will be Ukraine. Dmytro Kuleba, the Ukrainian foreign minister, will be here in Brussels meeting with his European counterparts, making the case for some of the restrictions on the weapons that they have given to Ukraine to be lifted, allowing Ukraine to hit deeper into Russian territory, hitting military targets which have otherwise been used to hit Ukrainian lands and Ukrainian territory. That will be one of the big practical questions faced by those foreign ministers in this meeting. Also on the agenda will be the Turkish foreign minister, the first time a Turkish foreign minister has attended one of these meetings in 5 years, perhaps a sign of a warming between the two sides, but certainly they will be discussing diplomatic relations between Brussels and Ankara, so something to look for there as well. But central, of course, that Ukrainian question, both because Russia has been pummeling civilian infrastructure in Ukraine and because Ukraine's incursion in the Russian Kursk region continues. It has slowed, but it continues, so there will be a lot of questions around the logistics, the diplomacy and the support offered by Europe to Ukraine. Further afield, they will look at the irregularities in the Venezuelan election. That will be a big consideration and concern for those foreign ministers brought together, and of course the situation in the Middle East between Israel and Hezbollah, that escalating situation with those hundreds of missiles fired across the border into Israel and with Israeli retaliation. The fear of escalation in that region still very real here in Europe, so certainly a lot for these foreign ministers to look into at this meeting. Alex Kadier in Brussels reporting for DD India.
Well, the U.S. election campaign is in full swing, with candidates hitting key battleground states in a bid to woo the voters. Kamala Harris is continuing with a bus tour of Georgia alongside her running mate Tim Walz, whilst Donald Trump's vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance, has been in America's Midwest, hammering home his ticket's messaging on the economy. With a roundup of who's where, here's Benji Hire with more.
Less than 68 days until polls close and the campaigns are moving full steam ahead. Vice President Harris hitting the road again today in Georgia's southern, more conservative, rural counties, home not to her traditional voting base, but a sign that she feels the swing state is very much in play this November. She's joined by Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. They'll hold a rally later and partake in a sit-down interview on American network television in a CNN exclusive airing on Thursday night. That will be their first in-depth, on-the-record conversation with the media since President Joe Biden exited the race for the White House more than 5 weeks ago. Former President Trump has Senator J.D. Vance stumping for him on the campaign trail in both Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, having visited Michigan too, another key state, to hit out at Chinese investment. The two camps, Democrat and Republican, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, have agreed to a presidential debate next month, but they remain at odds over some rules. Benji Hire in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Well, the U.S. Supreme Court declined on Wednesday to revive President Joe Biden's student debt relief plan, giving a boost to Republican-led states that have sued to block it. The justices rejected the administration's request to temporarily lift a judicial decision that paused the plan, which is designed to lower monthly payments for millions of borrowers and speed up loan forgiveness for some. The White House in August 2023 launched a policy called the Saving on a Valuable Education, or SAVE plan, which it touted as the most affordable repayment plan ever created. The plan would cut monthly college undergraduate loan payments from 10% to 5% of a borrower's discretionary income, which would save the typical borrower around $1,000 a year, according to the White House. And still to come, DD India News Hour. U.S. National Security Advisor Sullivan visits Beijing in a bid to manage strained relations. Infighting and floods continue to devastate Sudan, pounding a humanitarian crisis in the country. And Telegram CEO Pavel Durov placed under formal investigation in a probe into organized crime on the messaging app. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepak Shikuran, and moving on, top officials from the US says there's a potential for direct talks between Chinese President Xi Jinping and President Joe Biden soon. US officials have been in Beijing meeting their counterparts to discuss a range of issues, including potential flashpoints in the South China Sea. Caroline Malone reports for more from Washington.
The White House's top national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, is in Beijing this week, and along with China's top diplomat, Wang Yi, have agreed their Indo-Pacific regional military commanders will hold video calls at a, quote, appropriate time, according to a readout from China. There's the risk of unintended escalation in the South China Sea as Washington and Manila hold a mutual defence treaty. Chinese and Filipino vessels have clashed in recent months. Well, Wang reportedly told Sullivan that the US should also stop arming Taiwan and support peaceful reunification, with China seeing the self-ruled island as its own. It also expressed disapproval of US tariffs and export controls on Chinese goods, including chip makers. Well, the White House said after the talks, two sides held candid, substantive and constructive discussions on a range of bilateral, regional and global issues. And that included North Korea, Myanmar and the Middle East. But significantly, there's also an opportunity for fresh meetings, with China and the US planning a call between their leaders in the coming weeks, according to the White House. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
Well, Britain and Germany's leaders agreed in talks in Berlin on Wednesday to work on an ambitious treaty covering issues from defence to trade that would be part of a reset of British relations with the European Union. On his first bilateral visit to Germany, UK PM Starmer said a reset would not mean reversing Britain's 2020 exit from the EU or re-entering the bloc's single market or custom union, but it means a closer relationship on a number of fronts, including the economy and defence. More in this report.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer received military honours at the Chancellery in Berlin on Wednesday as German Chancellor Olaf Scholz welcomed UK's leader at the start of his visit to Germany. Later, British Prime Minister held talks with the German Chancellor and discussed landmark economic and defence accord. Starmer billed the new cooperation treaty as a once-in-a-generation chance to deliver for working people in Britain and in Germany, as it would deepen collaboration in science, technology, business and culture while increasing trade. In a joint press conference, Starmer said the new pact with Germany is a big step towards enhancing relations with the rest of the European Union.
A new UK-Germany treaty, a once-in-a-generation chance to deliver for working people in Britain and in Germany. A new agreement, a testament to the depth and potential of our relationship, with deeper links on science, technology, development, people, business, culture, a boost to our trading relations.
German Chancellor hailed Starmer's bid to improve Britain's ties with the European Union.
I am delighted that Keir Starmer has announced that he will seek a fresh start in his relationship with the European Union. We want to grasp this outstretched hand.
UK Prime Minister Starmer insisted he is not seeking to reverse Brexit as he pitched a wider reset of Britain's ties with Europe. Starmer said he wanted Britain to move beyond the previous Conservative government's factitious relations with European allies and put improved ties at the heart of his efforts to boost Britain's economic growth. Earlier, UK Prime Minister met German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier and signed a guest book at the Bellevue Palace in Berlin. After Germany, Sir Keir travels to Paris for the Paralympics opening ceremony on Wednesday evening, before a breakfast meeting with French business leaders on Thursday morning and a summit with President Emmanuel Macron at the Élysée Palace. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, Telegram boss and founder Pavel Durov has been placed under formal investigation in France as part of a probe into organized crime on the messaging app. Durov has not been remanded in custody but placed under judicial supervision and has to pay over $5 million deposit. He was charged on several counts of failing to curb extremist and illegal content on the popular messaging app following a hearing with investigating magistrate in Paris. In France, being put under formal investigation does not imply guilt or necessarily result in a trial, but it indicates that judges consider there is enough of a case to proceed with an investigation. And a group of retired Argentines scuffled with police during a protest against a possible presidential veto of a bill passed by the Congress. Violence spiraled between the riot police and retirees to defend their retirement rights against President Javier Milei's intention to veto a pension reform that would raise the minimum retirement pension. Milei has announced plans to veto a pension reform passed on Thursday by the Senate in a move that is likely to widen an ongoing rift between the Libertarian leader and opposition-controlled Congress. The Senate had overwhelmingly agreed to hike pensions in line with the country's triple-digit inflation, a measure that could risk the strict fiscal balance pushed by Milei. And law students from one of Mexico's most important universities marched on Wednesday to protest the government's plans to reform the judiciary, a controversial measure that would involve electing justices of the federal system by popular vote, among other changes. A congressional commission approved the reform on Monday, paving the way for a final debate under the new Congress, in which the ruling Morena party and its allies hold a two-thirds supermajority in the lower house and are one seat short in the Senate. The reform would see around 7,000 judges, magistrates and justices, including the Supreme Court, elected by popular vote, lower experience and age requirements, and a reduction in the size of the nation's top court. And Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado said the government led by Nicolas Maduro had detained over 150 children during a series of arrests of opposition figures. During a peaceful protest in Caracas, Machado also said many supporters of Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chavez, were now turning against the current government. Venezuela's Electoral Council has proclaimed Maduro as winner of the election, but has not published complete voting tallies. The opposition has published its own tallies, showing a landslide win for its candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez. Meanwhile, Venezuela's Attorney General Tariq Saab said he will issue a third summon for opposition leader Gonzalez to testify about an opposition website where presidential voting tallies have been posted. Gonzalez has ignored 2 summons this week. If he ignores the third, a warrant could be issued for his arrest. And Honduras ended an extradition treaty with the United States that has been used to imprison drug traffickers. It accused Washington of meddling in Honduran-Venezuelan relations. Honduran Foreign Secretary Eduardo Enrique Riera said international relations should be based precisely on non-interference and not trying to impose policies. Early on Wednesday, Honduran President Xiomara Castro ordered a renunciation, a unilateral withdrawal of a treaty in international law, and accused Washington of meddling in her country's affairs. And Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes ordered billionaire Elon Musk to appoint a legal representative for his social media platform X in Brazil within 24 hours or face the site's suspension in the country by Thursday night. Moraes said the companies that do not respect Brazilian legislation or the confidentiality of private information have their activities temporarily suspended under the country's law regulating internet issues. Earlier, X announced it would close its operation and fire its staff in Brazil due to censorship orders from Moraes. And major typhoon Shanshan has made landfall on Japan's main southern island of Kyushu, knocking out power supply for over 250,000 households and injuring dozens of people on Thursday morning. Officials said this could be one of the strongest storms ever to hit the region, as some residents in the path of Typhoon Shanshan have been ordered to evacuate, and major firms like Toyota closed their factories. Airlines and rail operators have cancelled some services for the coming days. The typhoon is categorized as very strong in Kyushu. The southwestern region of Japan is on high alert as the meteorological agencies has issued an emergency warning, saying the typhoon could bring flooding, landslides and wind strong enough to knock down some houses. Rains and strong winds were witnessed in Fukuoka City as Typhoon Shanshan made landfall this morning, with authorities advising thousands of people to evacuate and issuing the highest warning level for wind and storm surges. The storm is expected to approach central and eastern regions, including the capital, Tokyo, over the weekend. And for more on the typhoon, we have Chris Gilbert joining us from Tokyo. Well, Chris, Japan's strongest typhoon of the year has made landfall in the country's southwest a little while back, but the potential for major damage is high given Shanshan's sluggish speed. What is the situation there right now?
Well, yeah, it hit Kagoshima, the westernmost city of Japan, about 4 hours ago. That was the point where it made landfall. It has now moved to the other major in the area, Nagasaki, and in its wake, it has effectively left many roads unpassable, with trees broken, fallen, and strewn all over the place. And people in Kagoshima are still hunkered. Of course, the danger has not passed yet. It is a very powerful typhoon, and not just the typhoon itself, but the warm air coming off the typhoon, creating deluges and landslide and mud risks throughout all of Japan. And at the moment, as you say, 250 people have no power, mostly and also in Neiba, which is also in Kyushu. There are some reports of injuries there. There have been 100 reports of damage overnight to 70% due to higher wind. Winds reportedly blew out a window town in Miyazaki, and the glass from that resulted in the 2 injuries I mentioned earlier. The Kyushu is still very much the brunt of this storm at the moment. Emergency officials and the meteorological agency is warning people to take precautions if they've not evacuated already. Strong buildings and sturdy, housing, to take precautions already. We're seeing many rivers are at bursting point. Some in Oita Prefecture in North Kyushu have burst with the highest, most severe order of evacuations for about 2,000 people there. And the meteorological agency and officials are urging people to not go unless it's absolutely necessary. And if it is late to evacuate, at least go upstairs in your house, has a second story, or get to somewhere which be away from windows to weather out this storm.
All right, rescue efforts going on in full swing. Thank you so much, Chris, for all that update from there. And moving on, in Sudan, floods continue to devastate 11 Sudanese states and destruct hundreds of thousands of houses and civilian infrastructure, compounding a humanitarian crisis in a country with the world's largest scale of displacement due to the fighting between the country's security units. Naba Moeddin reports for more from Port Sudan.
The death toll has risen to 138 and hundreds of people are still missing in northern and eastern Sudan. Torrential rains continue to hit the majority of Sudanese states, with Kassala, Red Sea and northern state recording the highest figures of casualties. Sudan's meteorological authority says this rainy season is the heaviest in 100 years, a devastating crisis to millions of vulnerable people across the country. A crucial dam has collapsed in eastern Sudan on Sunday, killing dozens and injuring hundreds more. Other 3 dams in eastern Sudan are under threat of a collapse. The number of people displaced by the floods exceeded 300,000 people, a serious challenge to those affected by 16 months of conflict in Sudan. This rainy season is also contributing to the outbreaks of pandemics like cholera, malaria and watery diarrhea, making the overwhelmed health system even worse. Naba Muhyiddin, reporting from Port Sudan in Sudan for DD India.
All right, the Sudanese residing in the flood-stricken Toka city of the Red Sea state have fled with what's left of their belongings and animals. Hoping to move to a safer place, people were seen walking on the road on donkeys and donkey-driven carts with their goats and camels. Some of them tried to rest under makeshift tents. Trucks and bulldozers have tried to fill the muddy roads with sand to get out the families stranded in Toka. About 118,000 people have been displaced nationwide and over 300,000 affected across the country as the floods destroyed homes and could spread diseases, including cholera. Well, also a major wildfire that has been contained after ravaging 700 hectares of land in the area around the port city of Split in southern Croatia was reignited by winds on Wednesday. The fire is raging near the village of Donje Stitno. Around 255 fighters with 80 tanker vehicles are on the ground to protect homes from the fire. And on the opening night of the Venice Film Festival, Hollywood actress Sigourney Weaver received the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement. Known for her work in film franchises like Alien, Ghostbusters and Avatar, Weaver was cheered by fans and media as she walked on the red carpet right after the awards ceremony. The 74-year-old actress was emotional as she was honored at the festival, and she said that she was humbled by the festival's recognition. And the cast and crew of the highly anticipated horror comedy Beetlejuice arrived at the opening red carpet event of the Venice Film Festival. Directed by Tim Burton, it's a sequel to the 1988 film Beetlejuice, which was critically and commercially successful. The movie stars Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Jenna Ortega, Catherine O'Hara and Willem Dafoe, all whom were present at the red carpet event. The film is premiering at the festival out of competition. We'll be back in a short while. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. Lepakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Israel launches large-scale operation as Gaza conflict drags on. US announces new sanctions on settlers over West Bank violence. With tensions high in West Asia, UN extends Lebanon peacekeeping forces mandate in favor of stability and a ceasefire. Typhoon Shanshan slams into southern Japan, triggers flooding and landslides, thousands evacuated. Japan issues highest level warning for wind storm surges. Heavy rain continues to batter Indian state of Gujarat. Relief and rescue operation on war footing across the state. Incessant rains pound Delhi too and nearby regions. And India celebrates National Sports Day today to mark the birth anniversary of visit of hockey Major Dhyan Chand. Well, the Election Commission of India will issue notification for the second phase of the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly polls, in which constituencies of Central Kashmir districts including Srinagar, Budgam and Ganderbal and constituencies of Rajouri, Riasi and Poonch districts will be going for the polls on September 25th. The notification for third phase will be issued on September 5th and the polling for this phase will be held on October 1st. The counting of votes will be held on the 4th of October. Around 280 nomination papers were filed across 24 Assembly constituencies in Jammu and Kashmir for the first phase. And the 17th India-Israel Foreign Office consultations were held in New Delhi on August 28, 2024. Reflecting on the strength of the India-Israel strategic partnership, both sides discussed various issues of bilateral interest in depth and reviewed the entire gamut of bilateral endeavors. The two sides also shared views on the prevailing situation in West Asia and the Indo-Pacific, reiterating India's strong and unequivocal condemnation of the October 7 terror attacks on Israel. The Foreign Secretary called for the unconditional and immediate release of all hostages, ceasefire, the need for continued humanitarian assistance and adherence to international humanitarian law. The Foreign Secretary also shared India's concern at the escalating situation in West Asia and emphasized restraint, dialogue and diplomacy. And monsoon mayhem continues in parts of India. The western state of Gujarat is experiencing a flood-like situation as rainfall continues to thrash the state. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued a red alert for multiple districts in Gujarat, warning people of more downpours in the coming days. Also, State Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel held a high-level meeting at the State Emergency Operations Centre in Gandhinagar and reviewed the flood situation in the state. The CM instructed the district collectors to remain alert in view of the flash flood warning issued by IMD in several districts and also asked to mobilise various relief and rescue operations to expedite the relief work in flood-affected areas. Amid flood-like situation prevailing in several parts of Gujarat, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called up State CM to take stock of the situation. PM Modi assured the centre's support to the state in tackling the natural disaster. Meanwhile, the National Disaster Response Force and State Disaster Response Force teams have been deployed to increase the pace of the relief operation. The army has also been deployed to assist the rescue and relief work. While the situation is worst in Vadodara as the city grappled with flooding after the Vishwamithri River, which flows through it, breached its banks and entered residential localities, inundating buildings, roads and vehicles. This issue has resulted the city of Vadodara to face severe flooding situations, resulting in the state government to reach out to the Indian Army to help in relief and rescue operations. Well, you can see Gujarat totally inundated in the monsoon rains. Monsoon mayhem has continued in parts of India, but the western state of Gujarat is experiencing a flood-like situation as rainfall continues unabatedly in the state. Also, the Indian Meteorological Department, most importantly, has issued a red alert for multiple districts in Gujarat, warning people of more downpours in the coming days. Red alert has been issued for districts in Saurashtra and South Gujarat. Heavy rain caused flooding in Gujarat, which is continuing unabatedly. And for more, we have Meghna joining us from there. Well, Meghna, red alert has been issued for districts in Saurashtra and South Gujarat. Flooding and rain continues unabatedly. What's the situation there right now?
Well, I'm currently, in central Gujarat, in Ahmedabad, wherein we have been seeing since yesterday, the rainfall has slowed down. The incessant, the continuous rainfall, heavy rainfall that the area was witnessing has slowed down, which has helped the water to recede. Now, what we actually see is that the Saurashtra region, the Kutch region, have been severely affected with heavy incessant rainfall. Besides that, what we also see is that the dams have overflown. The reason the dams have been full of capacity, the reason the gates have been opened, which has obviously marooned the low-lying areas in rainwater. Now, we also see that, especially when we talk about Vadodara, extra NDRF, 5 NDRF teams have been deployed in Vadodara. 4 columns of the army have been deployed in Vadodara. Now, the reason for this is that the Vishwamithri River has overflowed, which has resulted in water gushing into different residential areas as well. Now, the Vishwamithri river has a lot of crocodiles. Now, these crocodiles are now being spotted in residential areas, which has caused a mayhem, which has also obviously scared the residents, around the area. Now, so the NDRF has been deployed and 4 columns of the army have been deployed to, manage the situation. Now, also from Ahmedabad and Surat, rescue boats have been sent to Vadodara. So definitely, actually controlling the situation in Vadodara seems like a priority for the state government as of now. Besides, obviously, Devbhoomi Dwarka, which has received the maximum rainfall. This is the coastal district of Gujarat, which has received the maximum rainfall. In fact, there was a rescue operation carried out by the Indian Coast Guard off the coast of Dwarka, 15 kilometers off the coast of Dwarka towards the south, wherein 13 fishermen were stuck on a fishing boat. So that operation was also carried out. But besides that, we also see the rescue operations are taking place. Over 1,800 people have been rescued. Now, over 28,000 people have been relocated to safer places. What we also see that people are being distributed food packets, drinking water and essential medicines. Besides Besides that, a number of municipal corporations have been instructed to ensure that once the water starts receding or once the water recedes, there will be spraying of, these medicines which will prevent waterborne diseases. So what we see as of now that central Gujarat is having a little sigh of relief from the incessant heavy rainfall, but we can definitely see that the region of Saurashtra, Kutch and South Gujarat do not see any respite from the rain as of now.
All right, Vadodara and Dwarka, you said, have been badly affected. Also, the railway routes and traffic also have been affected. What's up on that front? How badly is the transportation affected and how is it going on?
Well, Lipakshi, that's a very important aspect because what we get to understand is the route to Mumbai. Now, we see that a number of trains from Gujarat go to Mumbai. Now, that covers, the route covers the southern part of Gujarat. What we also see is that the railway tracks are inundated in rainwater. The reason there's been water logging around the tracks, the number of trains have been delayed and a number of trains have been diverted. A number of trains have also been cancelled. So what we obviously see that Western Railway is seeing delay in, delay in the train schedule. Besides that, a number of flights had also been delayed. Now, what we see in Bhuj, while there are small airports in and around different areas, different districts in Gujarat, quite a few of them have seen delays of flights. But the maximum flights actually operate from Ahmedabad, which have also seen delays because of the incessant rainfall. But what we see that in Ahmedabad, probably the situation would improve in a couple of days or maybe by tomorrow for that matter. But the railway has badly been affected. We also see that the state road transport has been badly affected because a number of roads are blocked. A number of roads are marooned in rainwater. The reason that, state road transport has also stopped or ceased services in the Saurashtra region for that matter. The buses going to Jamnagar, buses going to Dwarka, and that region, especially Morbi, Rajkot, a number of buses have also stopped operating, due to precautionary measures as well. Besides that, in the last 24 hours, 9 people have lost their lives due to, incidents that have occurred due to heavy rainfall. So what we definitely see is that while rescue, relief and relocation operations are on, the people specifically in Saurashtra region and in South Gujarat as well as the North Gujarat region do not see any respite from rain in the upcoming day, today and tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much, Meghna, for all that update from Gujarat. And moving on, while Delhi NCR also received incessant rainfall accompanied by thunderstorms and lightning in the early hours of Thursday, the rain resulted in severe waterlogging and traffic congestion in several parts of Delhi. The waterlogging in the area has slowed down the traffic. Commuters were seen wading through the flooded roads with vehicles struggling to cross the road. Additionally, the Indian Meteorological Department said August this year is also one of the wettest months for the national capital with a record 291.6 mm of rainfall so far. And for more on this, we have Debyendu Mondal joining us from Delhi. Well, Debyendu, good morning. IMD labelled August as the wettest month this year. A lot of waterlogging at various places. What is the situation like and the difficulties being faced by the commuters, particularly at this busy hour?
Well, good morning, Vipakshi. That's right. Delhi has been receiving incessant rainfall almost every day ever since the monsoon kicked in for the national capital in the early days of July. So, of course, every day Delhi has been witnessing some or the other activities of rainfall in some parts of the national capital region. This incessant rainfall is leading to waterlogging in several areas, and the IMD has predicted that this rainfall activity will continue till at least the first week of September, where light to moderate as well as heavy rainfall is expected in different parts of the city and the NCR region of the national capital. So, of course, the Delhi police have also been putting out tweets since morning, making citizens aware of the places where the traffic will be crawling slowly, given the fact that it's a weekday. people will be commuting to their offices in the morning, and therefore some regions, for example, the Dholakua region, which is a busy stretch that connects the city to the city's airport, has been waterlogged since the rainfall in morning, and the Delhi police has put out advisories saying that people who are leaving for the airport must leave early because the traffic is very slow due to the waterlogging. Several places have also reported uprooting of trees, and the municipal corporation have been instructed to clear out the blockages of roads where the trees have been uprooted.
Right.
And having said this, the rainfall activity, as I said, will continue from light to moderate over the next couple of days, is what the IMD predicts. Lipakshi.
All right, Dibyendu, thank you so much for all that update from there. And moving on, based on intelligence inputs concerning infiltration bids in two separate areas of Kupwara, a joint operation was launched by the Indian Army and the Jammu and Kashmir Police on the intervening night of Wednesday and Thursday in Machal and the Tangdhar area of district in Jammu and Kashmir. The suspicious movement was observed in bad weather and was engaged with effective firing by its own troops. Two terrorists are likely to have been neutralized. The operation is still in progress. And moving on, the Indian Medical Association on Wednesday suspended the membership of former RG Kar Medical College and Hospital principal Dr. Sandeep Ghosh amid a CBI probe into the alleged rape and murder of a junior doctor at the Kolkata-based institute earlier this month. The decision to suspend the IMA membership of Ghosh, who is the vice president of the association's Kolkata branch, was taken by its disciplinary committee. Meanwhile, agitation of doctors and C's work is continuing. Rather, it has intensified after threat speech of CM Mamata Banerjee yesterday. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will dedicate second nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine INS Arighat to the nation today at Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh. INS Arighat is an updated version of INS Arihant, India's first nuclear submarine. The development marks a significant advancement in India's naval capabilities, particularly concerning its strategic nuclear deterrence. At least 7 people have been killed so far in Uttar Pradesh's Bahruch district as they face terror of wolf for the past 2 months. 50 villages have been identified where the wolves have wreaked havoc, and the authorities have deployed 16 teams to combat the situation. High-frequency drone cameras are used to monitor the wolf pack. The National Security Guard commandos carried out a series of counter-terrorist mock drills at multiple locations in Himachal Pradesh. The location included vulnerable and key targets in Kasol and Manali. The mock drills primarily focused on rehearsing and re-executing counter-terror, hostage rescue operations and counter-IED operations in an urban scenario. And India's Central Bank Governor Shaktikant Das on Wednesday said that India's central bank wants to make unified payment interface UPI and RuPay truly global and strengthen cross-border payment systems. Speaking at Global FinTech Fest in Mumbai, Das said the Reserve Bank of India is focusing on making the UPI and RuPay truly global based on encouraging response received from several jurisdictions. Progress has already been made in countries like Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Singapore, the UAE, Mauritius, Namibia, Peru, France and a few others. Das also mentioned that self-regulatory organizations for the fintech sector are preferred approach to balance innovation and prudent regulation. The central bank has decided to recognize the Fintech Association for Consumer Empowerment as an SRO.
Based on encouraging response we have received from several jurisdictions, we are now focusing on making the UPI and the RuPay truly global. The deployment of UPI-like infrastructure in foreign jurisdictions, facilitating QR code-based payment acceptance through UPI apps at international merchant locations, and interlinking UPI with fast payment systems in other countries for cross-border remittances are on top of our agenda. Notable progress in this direction has already been made with countries like Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Singapore, the UAE, Mauritius, Namibia, Peru, France, and a few other countries.
All right, moving on, NVIDIA reported results for the quarter gone by after the bell on Wednesday. And while they were mostly ahead of expectations, the company's guidance for the upcoming quarter left the street wanting for more. Revenue grew 122% during the quarter to $30 billion in the quarter, which ended on July 28th. Analysts were working with an estimate of $28.9 billion. Earnings per share, excluding certain items, stood at $0.68, marginally higher than the $0.64 of estimate. The focus has now shifted to NVIDIA's next big offering, the next generation AI chip called Blackwell. There have been delays in the manufacturing of the chip, but the management is confident of shipping them in the next quarter. You're watching TT India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. India is celebrating its National Sports Day in honor of Major Shanshan, the legendary hockey player whose unparalleled skills made him a global icon in the sport. Also known as Hockey Wizard, his legacy extends far beyond India, earning him admiration and respect across the world for his extraordinary techniques on the field. As a tribute to the global icon, take a watch.
आज सौभाग्य की बात है कि हमारे स्टूडियो में मौजूद हैं मेजर ध्यानचंद।
फॉरेन कंट्री जो हॉकी सीखी है इसमें शक नहीं है कि हिंदुस्तान के जरिए सीखी है। उन लोगों ने इतनी ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस कर ली कि हम अब हिंदुस्तान का मुकाबला करने लगे। मैंने देखा है रिसेंटली यूरोप कंट्री के खेलों को कि वो हमारे मुकाबले में थोड़ा ड्रिबलिंग करने लगे हैं, बजाय मारने के अब ड्रिबलिंग ही शुरू कर दिया।
जी हाँ, काफी इम्प्रूवमेंट्स हैं उनके।
It's the army, British Army. For entertainment and recreation, they used to play the sport of hockey. That's how modern hockey came into India. So somehow Shanshan got into that hockey team. When he played, he was supposed to play against his bosses, colonels and all other people. So his first aim is not to hurt them.
ध्यानचंद के बारे में कहा जाता था कि वो बिल्कुल चेस की तरह हॉकी के मैदान को देखते थे। उनको पता होता था कि उनका खिलाड़ी किस जगह पर है और वो ब्लाइंड फोल्ड, अगर आप उनकी आंखों पर पट्टी भी बांध दें तो वो एक ऐसी जगह पास करते थे जहां खिलाड़ी मौजूद, बिल्कुल पिन पॉइंट उसी जगह पर गेंद रुकती थी। तो ये प्रेसिशन था।
When he played in America, they thought probably there was some magic in his hockey stick, and they even changed his sticks.
What Shanshan was playing in his times was nothing but what we are playing nowadays.
Magic man like Don Bradman in cricket. Hockey was in his blood. Hockey was in his thought. Hockey was in his action.
People say he had some electric power. No, he visualized you should not hold the ball.
Much before Sachin Tendulkar, Roger Federer, Michael Jordan, Senna, Muhammad Ali, Pele, there was Shanshan.
And India's Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Dr. Mansukhh was present at Major Shanshan Stadium on the occasion of National Sports Day, where he planted a sapling and extended his heartfelt wishes to the hockey legend. Dr. Mandavia also emphasized on PM Modi's Fit India movement and urged Indian citizens to take up sports for at least an hour in a day.
मोदी जी ने सही कहा है कि जो खेलेंगे वो खिलेंगे। देश के नागरिक फिट रहे, स्वस्थ रहे और स्वस्थ नागरिक स्वस्थ समाज का निर्माण करता है और स्वस्थ समाज समृद्ध राष्ट्र का निर्माण करता है। हर कोई देश के नागरिक अपने व्यस्त समय में से दिन में 1 घंटा निकाल के अपनी रुचि की कोई न कोई गेम्स खेले और फिट रहे।
And the much-awaited Paris Paralympic Summer Games finally kicked off on Wednesday after the success of Paris Olympic Games. The 18th edition of these Games will be continued till 8th of September. The Paralympic opening ceremony took place at the Champs-Élysées and Place de la Concorde, both historic venues and among the biggest tourist attractions in the city of Paris. Over 4,400 athletes are set to take the stage over the course of the next 11 days, competing for 549 medals across 22 sports. The Organising Committee of Paris 2024 have said that just over 2 million tickets have been sold for the Paralympics. And for more on this, we have Narayan Singh joining us from there. Well, Narayan, after a grand and gala start yesterday and the motto being Games Wide Open, what all is lined up for today?
Definitely, it's going to be an important day for the Indian para-athletes at the Paralympic Games. We know after Olympics, they will try to share also the trend they started in the previous three Paralympic Games in Tokyo, where they won 19 medals. And today we are hoping that today there are initial rounds, ranking rounds and the opening rounds, especially in the archery, in the recurve and the compound event, and also the badminton event. We will see Sheetal Kumari, who was we can say the talk of the town in the past when she won medals at the Asian Games. And in para badminton, Suhas will be also there along with Palak Kohli in the mixed team event. And many more events in the para-cycling are also lined up. So we are hoping that today in the preliminary round, they will start their campaign on a positive note. And the trend they started in previous edition of the Paralympics, especially in the Tokyo Games, where India sent a contingent of 54 para-athletes, and this time around there are 84 para-athletes. So we are hoping that last time they were 19 and this time they will, there was expectation that they will cross the 25 medal mark. And definitely the Indian para-sport is in an on and upward trajectory, and definitely it will be, we can say that great to watch our para-athletes to perform there.
All right. Best wishes of all Indians with them, definitely, Narayan. Thank you so much for all that update on that. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lepakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.